What is going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is Jeff Lightsey Jr. here with the Black Boss channel. Thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button, like, share, and subscribe as you come into the room. Now, today we have an interesting topic. First, we're joined by a lovely guest, Miss Zakia Sankar Jabbar. Did I mess that up? Did I
No,
got
you
that
got it
right?
right.
There we go. Okay, I was just making sure. How you doing, Miss Zakia?
I'm good, brother. Good to be here. How are
That's
you?
good. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. Like I said, today we have an interesting topic. It is the topic of Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby is interesting. He's multifaceted in so many ways. Obviously, we grew up. He was first a stand-up comedian, then philanthropist, America's dad, all of this, and then there was kind of the downfall that took place with all the sexual assault allegations, the different litany of charges that were pressed against him. Even went to jail for a little while, but then was exonerated, and to a certain extent, he was exonerated, and he is now a free man. And Kamau Bell decides to make a docu-series about the trials and tribulations and kind of all the bad stuff that took place with Bill Cosby. Now, Zakia, I want to ask you, when you saw that Kamau Bell, Showtime, and these other outlets were coming out with this Bill Cosby documentary, kind of what was your thoughts when you saw that?
Yeah, so I saw it and I just thought to myself more of the same. To me, I'm just wondering, just what the fascination is with Bill Cosby by, certain people in the elite or in the media or whatever, you want to call them. And certainly I see it as a continuation of, you know, let's let's make Black men specifically the face of rape culture, the face of sexual assault, when the vast majority, the overwhelming vast majority of Black men do not participate in sexual assault or rape of anybody. But when you have the control over media and popular culture, they have the power to continue to, as they say colloquially, beat a dead horse. And we've been hearing about Bill Cosby like nonstop, literally, shit, maybe the last 4 or 5 years. And I'm just
Easily,
yeah,
easily.
I'm just like, this is overkill. Like, I mean, you know, wow, so yeah, I see it as, them, making him the face of rape culture and the face of sexual assault, in the psyche, so to speak, of women and everybody, not just in this country. Keep in mind,
Hmm.
a lot of these, platforms have a global reach.
Hmm.
So even in other countries, they're being socialized to be afraid, kind of like how the news media did, like in the 80s and 90s. They would always, show these images of Black men being, robbers and, just overall criminals.
Hmm.
This is also sort of in that same vein, from my perspective.
Now, Zakia, I also think it's also who it is. Bill Cosby had a stature at one point that was, that rival that was better than a lot of white folks. Let's just say it how it is. Like how white folks see each other as like really, really good, really, really nice. That man's stature surpassed all of that as far as what he was doing philanthropically, like with his philanthropy, what he was doing as far as the college education and his TV, his products that he was putting out there was one that really had no blemishes. Now, obviously, the man's human. Obviously, he grew up and he came up during a different kind of time and he lives in Hollywood. So I'm not just pretending like the man is Jesus, but the man did do a lot of good. Is it like, should we just ignore all the good that he's done, not just for the world, but specifically for the Black community, for, with the way that things are now aimed towards him and all this negativity? Should we just forget all the good that he did?
No, I don't think so. Of course not. Why would people forget all the good that he did and all the people who got scholarships to go to school and get their higher education degree, and all the money that he gave to HBCUs and many times to keep them open, because many HBCUs have been systemically underfunded. I lived in Ohio for a long time. And there's two HBCUs. There's Central State University. Shout out to Central State, the Marauders, and Wilberforce, which is the first private HBCU in this country. And it was named after a white abolitionist. So he is given handsomely to both of those universities during a time that they were really, really struggling to keep their doors open because the state of Ohio systemically underfunded them. Same is true for other HBCUs that he, has, given money to. I do want to say this, though, specifically about Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby also allowed white people, particularly white conservatives and even white liberals to some extent, to chastise poor and working class Black people during the 90s. Like he used his stature to talk really bad and down to Black people, along the lines of what some people will call respectability politics. So I also don't think we should forget that either, because now that, apparently they're done, using him to lash, take a tongue lashing from him about our outcomes and things like that. Now, he sees where all of his stature and all that has gotten him, and he's, constantly in the media as the face of rape and sexual assault.
Now, Zakiya, I want to ask you, what significance does it make it that it's Kamau Bell, a Black man, who is kind of the face behind this? I think it's a docu-series, not necessarily a documentary, but multi-part, like whether it's 2 or 4-part docu-series about Cosby. Does that do anything for you? What do you think that means?
It don't do nothing for me at all. Like I've never watched Kamau Bell. He's not funny to me. And he
honestly, I'd seen him around, but I never knew. Like, right, I didn't know he was a comedian. I'm just
I honestly believe most of his fan base are white people. I really don't. When I hear about Black people talking about comedians, his name literally never comes up. Like I don't know that he's ever even been on tour with other people that we know in the Black comedy space, like Cat Williams or Martin Lawrence, or you know what I mean? I don't see him in that same tradition or that same vein as a Black comedian. I also know that he's married to a white woman too, so that says a lot to me as well in terms of where he is politically.
Now, when I ask you that, I'm asking once again, we're talking to Ms. Zakiya. I'm asking you that because would that be a way for Showtime? Because Showtime's the backer, the people with the money that's pushing this out everywhere. Is that a way for Showtime to say, hey, we're not picking on Bill Cosby because look, the director or the guy who's the face of this whole piece is Black? Is that kind of their scapegoat?
It's their scapegoat, I guess, to make white people feel better. But most of the things that I've seen online from Black people is that they ain't feeling it. I haven't seen, and I keep a pretty Black space, you know what I mean? So the things that I see online, whether that's Twitter or Facebook, the vast majority of Black people aren't with it. I even saw where there's Black people that are organizing, telling people actually not to watch it. I don't know if you saw that, but they created their own graphic on top of the graphic that Showtime created to promote it. And I think it's some ADOS or FBA people that did that, created they're organizing people to boycott the docuseries. So
now, Zakiya, wouldn't you say that it's a lot other things that we could be making documentaries or highlighting to actually progress our people?
That he did this, he dropped this right before Black History Month. That was strategic.
Absolutely. But I'm asking, isn't there a bunch of other stuff we could be talking about, we could be discussing, we could bring to the forefront of conversation besides Bill Cosby? Bill Cosby is an 80-something-year-old man who is legally blind and is on his last wheel. Let's just be honest. And we're talking about accusations that nobody really had any concrete evidence, and that the fix was in, or during his case, clearly they messed with that evidence and sent them to jail wrongfully. And that's why they had to release him. So aren't there other aspects of life or of the Black culture that we could be discussing? I don't know, reparations or something that could be talked about besides Bill Cosby?
lots of other things. But again, I don't think that Kamau Bell's and even Showtime, I don't even think they didn't design that to talk to Black people from my perspective. I mean, similar to the other woman who wrote the piece for Vanity Fair, the audience that they're targeting is not Black people. I mean,
That's
so
big. That's
yeah.
big. Continue.
No, I was just saying that's we're not the audience, because this country knows that Black people tend to protect each other if there seems to be some sort of this like white dominant, kind of like backlash, whatever you want to call it. Black people tend to be a little bit more protective of Black people who reach a certain stature. You better not say nothing about Obama. Wait, let them somebody say something about Obama. Black people coming together and go off. You know what I mean? So,
You're right about that.
yeah. So it's like once, that's just, it's almost like we feel like we have to protect people. You know what I mean? I think it's a waste of time to continue to talk about Bill Cosby in this, because if we really want to go after the real like culprits of rape culture and sexual violence, that is not something that the again, I have to say this, the vast majority of Black men are not rapists. The vast
Absolutely.
majority of Black men are loving husbands and fathers. They work every day. They're already the most persecuted and most vilified in this country, right? So I have no respect for Kamau Bell at all. I didn't have any respect for him before, but I certainly don't have any respect for him now.
Yeah, because I mean, like if we just want to, because they, like you said, years ago, Bill Cosby kind of became the face of the Me Too movement. Like when the Me Too movement came about, they kind of tried to make Bill Cosby that
No,
face.
not just Bill Cosby, R. Kelly too. Like they
R. Kelly
literally
too.
are
Yes,
trying to
absolutely.
make Black men, and
Yes.
you did not
I,
see the same energy for even Weinstein. You didn't see the
I
same
was getting to
energy
that. Hmm.
for what was the other man? Casey. He was in that House of Cards thing on Netflix. What's his
Kevin Spacey. Kevin
name?
Spacey.
Yeah,
Kevin
like,
Spacey.
what about Epstein? Me Too ain't said nothing about that. They ain't said nothing about Jeffrey Epstein, and he was messing with young kids. He's a pedophile.
Well,
Like
it's because
Me Too
who he
covered
was affiliated
pedophilia.
with, though. It was because he was affiliated with. He was affiliated with presidents, right? We're talking about Bill Clinton and Trump. These guys aren't they ain't Cosby. You know what I mean? Like they get CIA protection for the rest of their lives and stuff like that. But no, that's where I was getting at, because like you said, I forgot all about R. Kelly. I could forget about R. Kelly. But R. Kelly and Bill Cosby kind of became the faces, but more so Bill Cosby became like the faces of the Me Too movement. And then you heard the Epstein stories came out, and then the stories, some of them, but they really got swept under the rug, and they haven't resurfaced. Bill Cosby, it was proven in court that they used documents or used tape recordings or whatever that shouldn't have ever been used in court, would send him to jail for almost 4 years. And that has been proven. So it's been proven that the justice system did him dirty, and we're using him as the example to rehash all of these things that took place over the years. Whereas a guy like Harvey Weinstein or the Kevin Spaceys or the, whoever,
A lot of people have been bringing up Woody Allen recently too.
Woody Allen, like all of these men, and there's one stark difference between them and Cosby, and we all know what it is. And it's like we're rehashing a man that was, acquitted by the courts because there was some janky justice system going on. Surprise, surprise, Black man gets, bad in court, gets some bad legal stuff going on. But these other men who it's been proven, like actual hard evidence against them, and nobody's making docuseries about that. What do you think about that?
I think again the same thing I said earlier. I mean, clearly that a memo or group text or Slack message went out, and it was like starting with that Vanity Fair piece that basically leveraged Dave Chappelle to indict all Black men. And then literally maybe a week or two after that, Kamau Bell drops this, and all of this is right before Black History Month, or right at Black History Month, where we usually use this time to commemorate our struggle here in this country and to talk about our resilience, to talk about our brilliance and how much we've overcome and the things that we've been able to accomplish, even being under siege in this country consistently and constantly. So I just think that this is just a continuation of that, to continue to make sure that the Black man, particularly the quote unquote straight Black man, is to be feared the world over. Should be feared consistently and constantly, to the global world. That these publications and Showtime and Vanity Fair have global reach. So it's very damning that they're using their resources and platform to ensure that people around the globe remain afraid. And to me, it creates a toxic living environment for Black men here and abroad.
Yes, yes, ma'am. You're absolutely
Regular
right
Black
about that.
men. Yeah.
Yes, and I also found it funny. This article by that was put out by The Root, and I thought this was really funny. I'm gonna show you this, Zakia. It was Kamau. Here's why W. Kamau Bell is quote very worried about the public's response to we need to talk about Bill Cosby docuseries. Now, what this tells me, he's not the public response. He's worried about the Black response. Because and so therefore, if you're going into this project and you're worried about how Black people gonna react, then you're probably doing something wrong. Like if you just like me and you, Ms. Zakia, if I was on here disrespecting you and doing all kinds of stuff, and we were just recording, we weren't live, and I was about to put this out, I was like, man, I was kind of acting kind of a little crazy. I know people ain't gonna respond to this well. Then you probably shouldn't put the stuff out. Like, I mean, that's how I see it. What about you?
He ain't worried. This is just another piece to get to talk about, because The Root is obviously geared towards a geared towards a Black audience. If he was worried, he wouldn't have did it.
Absolutely.
But look at his face. I mean, he is almost like he's a Black white man. You know what I mean? He's phenotypically Black, but he's like, take the picture, from Get Out. You know what I mean? Like snap out of it. He's had his brain, lobotomized. And he's really a white man. So yeah.
Yeah, I just think, like you said, we're beating a dead horse with the Cosby thing. I think that it's crazy that someone that like I said, he is no perfect man by any stretch of the manner.
Nobody's perfect.
But what man is,
Yeah.
exactly what man is, and what Cosby did for decades, for all aspects of the Black community, from the HBCUs to Black people on television, the college age with A Different World, the Cosby Show for both adults and children. It is sad to see these type of publications still be put out by people like Showtime or Kamau Bell, supposed to be Black men. We're adding T Khalid to the stream. T, how's it going, man?
Hey, how's it going? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. T, we're talking about Bill Cosby, and we're talking about the documentary. We need to talk about Cosby that's been put out. The docuseries been put out by Kamau Bell. T, go ahead, and is there anything you got to say about that? What were your thoughts when you heard about the docuseries?
Oh man, I'm not shocked, because really it's kind of ridiculous to me that we are rehashing Bill Cosby when he's already been litigated in the public court of opinion. And to me, it's kind of a way to stoke division in the Black community, especially with Black men, have Black men out there to be predators. Because if guys already let off at court, what interest is it to keep having Black people talking about it? And also the name, we need to talk about Bill Cosby, that's kind of using like a Black vernacular, as if this is coming from the Black community. This is organic from the Black community. When it's not. These are a bunch of Black liberal elites who Black people don't even know. If you watch there's probably only about 4 or 5 people on there. These are all, to me, I'm be honest with you, they all look like Democratic Party shills to me, out there just trying to make this man look like a sexual predator for no reason. And to be honest, I feel like some white person put them up to it, hired them, told them to go out there and do it, and they did it. But Black people are not talking about Bill Cosby no more.
Not at all.
Yeah, all this is really just to stoke division and divide into the Black community.
Yeah. Some of the people that are featured in the documentary, I'm looking at it. It is, I think, Roland Martin's in there. I think Mark Lamont Hill is in there. So it's some different people that you may or may not know. You may or may not know who they're associated with, and so that kind of tells you a little bit about what it actually takes place. I want to say I saw the trailer. I feel like I watched the trailer. I obviously I won't watch the doc because I just, like you said, it's an old topic. It's something.
Did you see the jokes? They were referencing his jokes as that making him a sexual predator. Like, did you see the trailer? How they was highlighting some of the things he was saying?
I saw. So one of the
that's
things
indicative of who he is. That's
So I saw the thing like a while back. They always reference the Larry King interview. I don't know if you guys ever talk about the Larry. You guys know what I'm talking about. There's a Larry King interview when Cosby was on CNN, probably in like the 90s or the 80s, maybe even the 80s. I mean, Larry King was there for a long time. And he said something about angel dust or something. I don't know. And they always reference that, especially with, with the drugs, the sex, all that stuff that took place between them back in the 60s. And and I wasn't there. I don't know what those people were doing. I wasn't there. I feel like a lot of them were doing a lot of stuff back then, and it wasn't just Cosby. So that's why I'm like, how we're pulling up stuff. I mean, the 60s was a long time ago. Like the 60s was literally 60 years ago at this point. So I mean,
and we also got to ask this question, man, because like I said, we always see these people as our allies, our friends. The liberals supposed to be our allies and friends. We got to ask, black people got to ask themselves, why are they only doing our community like this? Have they ever paid a bunch of Latinos or Asians or Arabs or any other community to do a documentary about themselves and just attack them as if there's something morally wrong with their own community? It seems like they only do black people like this. Like before his documentary, then they had Michael Jackson. Then they had R. Kelly. And I'm not saying these people are guilty or not guilty. I'm just seeing a pattern where it's interesting, where they hire a bunch of black people to go in on their own, which, like I said, is designed to show dysfunction in our community.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Ms. Zakia, did you have anything to add?
No, I mean, I basically said some similar things before T came on. I mean, this is just a continuation of, creating or stoking fear, into the general populace, including other black people, because they're socializing people. It's a form of psychological warfare. That's exactly what it is that, you continue to show something over and over again, or you repeat something and you show certain images and, carefully crafted words and messages. It's certainly a form of psychological warfare. And so people will think that black men have a monopoly on being rapists, being, pedophiles and all of that, when really we know in our community that the vast majority, again, I can't say this enough, the vast majority of black men are not rapists. They are law-abiding citizens. They are husbands, loving husbands and fathers. Some of them are blue-collar brothers. Some of them are highly educated brothers. Like, they are just regular human beings that deserve the same amount of grace that other groups continue to enjoy. So, I'm clear about who these people are. I'm clear about the role of white domination and white supremacy, and so I'm not interested, and I can see right through what's happening here.
Now, T, I want to shift gears just a little bit. We're talking about Bill Cosby, but I want to shift gears because Zakia brought up something earlier about how some of these different groups have tried to attack Dave Chappelle, and they've attacked and even broken some other people. How significant is it for a guy like a Dave Chappelle, or pick your favorite black man who stood up against the grain, against this system that has tried to make them, and in the words of like a Tariq Nasheed, butt break them or whatever? How important is that to see those kind of people take a stand and like, yo, like, I don't care what you say about me. That ain't what I meant. This is what I meant, and I'm gonna stick to my word. How important is that to see that from some of our, quote unquote celebrities or whoever?
No, it's very significant, because the thing is, they are trying to socially control black people to tell us what we can and cannot talk about in the confines of what's acceptable by white people. Okay, these rules are not created by black people. if you notice, a majority of the black people laugh at Dave Chappelle's jokes. They're not tripping about it. Gay, straight, it doesn't matter. They're not tripping about it. It's that certain small segment who are being paid by white people to get upset on behalf of black people, as if this is all of black people talking. And what black people have to understand is that we have to value our free speech. We would not be here if we didn't have free speech. Like, if it was a crime for us to speak about, let's say we was living back in the 60s or something, and it was a crime for us to speak about racism, and we would like go to jail for just speaking about it. There's no way we can be here where we are right now without free speech. We need free speech to educate black people, to get black people on the same page. So, but we have to understand that this is an attack on our free speech. And if we sit there quiet, not saying anything, we're just going to be controlled, used, and abused, and then complaining about the exact same issues 100 years from now, because we're not allowed to talk about anything else and evolve. So yes, no, it's very significant for black men and women to stand up. I would put Dave Chappelle and Nicki Minaj. I don't know if y'all remember when Nicki Minaj was attacked under COVID. The way she stood strong, I applaud that. And we need to uplift and promote every African American who does that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, Ms. Zakia, you talked about you being in those black spaces. I feel like a tide is turning. Like you even said, most of the people in your space, they were writing this stuff off. Hell, they were making petitions to get this, Cosby docuseries off the air or whatever. Is the tide turning though? Are black people starting to realize, like, yo, you can't run the same okie doke. You can't tell me what I should be mad about. Do you see kind of some of that creeping into more and more people across the country?
Big time. And I saw it first with that Vanity Fair piece on Twitter. And most of the people in the comments was going off. Like, you didn't see a whole lot of agreement unless it was from white women specifically. Most of the comments, most of the like retweets, you could go back and look at what people were saying. Like, there's definitely a shift in consciousness that is happening. People can see right through a lot of the things that's coming out from the mainstream press, for sure.
Now, why do you think that's happening? What is it that's actually taking place that's kind of contributing to that?
I mean, I just think, black people are like, this is just not right. Like, it's just not our lived experiences. Y'all are gatekeepers. You all don't even live in black neighborhoods, the most of you. Hell, to be honest, like, some of y'all didn't even grow up in a black neighborhood. You didn't even go to school with other black folks. Like, so black people are starting to see, that most of these handpicked, let's be real, these handpicked Negroes, who are speaking for the black community are nothing more than white mouthpieces.
These are Negroes you never heard of before. We've never seen them before. Like, no one. We all know the only place we know of Kamau Bell is he's just on CNN. But you don't see him doing anything, advocating anything for the black community, doing any work to elevate us. They're just out of nowhere. And what the white, especially white liberal, what they think is that as long as they put a black face in front of us, then that should pacify us. That black person is speaking for the entire black community. No, it's not. And I applaud black people for, going ham on Kamau Bell, holding them accountable, telling them this is not what we want, because we don't want the black elite. And when I mean the black elite, these are the black people who are thrown in front of our faces as our leaders, to get off scot-free with no punishment. There has to be a punishment for these people who betray us. They can't keep making money. We know we need to let them know that you don't represent us no more, so they can shrivel up and go away.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're pressed for time, guys, but we've had a great conversation. I do want to ask one last question, then we'll get out of here. Just how we're talking about socially that these things are changing. I know you guys are also see the change politically. At least I think we're seeing started more of a change. We kind of, for a lot of people felt like we dropped the ball during the last election.
Oh yeah,
and then we're getting these same like little trinkets, tokenism, symbolism, all kinds of stuff for the last. Biden's been in president for the last year, and folks are like, "Whoa, this ain't what I thought I signed up for." And it looks like we're starting to see a change politically. Last word, Ms. Zakia. Are you seeing that change politically, or do you think we're kind of still on that, hamster still on that same wheel? And
no, I think certainly there's a difference in a certain age group. I think people, I'll say 45 and younger, were already politicized, even during the last election, and actually agreed with Ice Cube in terms of asking for tangibles. And I think that there's a group that has been organizing themselves on social media, on Twitter and other places, saying, because I kept seeing tangibles, even in the last election. You know what I mean? So
FBA,
yeah. So like people are like, nah, like we're done with symbolism. We're done with, you all appointing gatekeepers and making that as a win for the entire Black community, because what you're seeing is basically what Huey Newton said. I believe Huey Newton said this, or one of our ancestors, was that the conditions organize people, and our conditions are worsening in every economic category. Our condition is continuing to worsen. So then that's when you start to see there's going to be a reaction to that. And so I think both of those things are happening at the same time, and that's why you hear a cry for, no, we actually need tangibles. We filling up the homeless shelters, we filling up the tent encampments in these cities across the country. We're being removed, out of our traditional neighborhoods in these big cities. They're no longer majority Black anymore. Detroit has a white mayor. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so all of these things have been happening in the last 10 to 15 years, and we continue to get nothing from either major political party. And so that's why I think that it'll be interesting to see what happens in 2022, whether there will be a hold the vote or whatever, like what the movement will be in this year. But one thing that I can tell you is that the Democrats are going to lose big unless they figure out a way to doctor some machines. But from all looks of it, not even just from Black people who will probably stay home or probably vote the other way or vote for some other kind of third party candidate, but you're going to see a lot of white people not voting for Democrats this time. And it has everything to do with the lockdowns and requiring people get a jab to keep their job. That's what's organizing people in this year's election. Those are my thoughts.
Yes. T.
No, and I totally agree with Zakia, because I'm telling you, I look at CNN on YouTube and these people are still talking about Trump, January 6th commission. I'm just like, this is not, Black people don't care about this stuff. Like we are beyond, Trump is not even the president. Why are we still talking about what he said or somewhere? Who cares? But see, what they think we are a stupid race. They think that if they keep talking about Trump as a boogeyman, that's going to have us get rattled up and we're going to run to them. So that's why they're ramping up this January 6th nonsense and Donald Trump. But I'm hopeful, I'm really hopeful, because I do see Black people online waking up and in my personal life, waking up to what's going on. The real test is when we get that boogeyman Republican, we got to see how that's going to go, because, the white supremacy, and this is not pro-Republican, but the white supremacist label is going to be thrown at them. And, we got to see how Black folks respond to that. Politically, Black people should be independent. And just because, let's say we break away from the Democrats, if we can have a race that we negotiate with both parties, meaning we go to the Republicans and negotiate with them, that puts pressure on the Democrats to stand up. But if we just only talk to one party and we just completely ignore the Republicans say, the hell with y'all don't even talk to us. So we don't even got to even enact anything. You will never vote for us regardless. And then the Democrats say, y'all ain't got nowhere else to go but to vote for us. So we're going to still ignore you. So we have to change. We got to talk to Republicans. We got to at least get a foothold in both parties. So I'm hopeful, and, we just got to see what happens.
Absolutely, absolutely. Once again, we're talking to T. Khalik and Miss Zakia. You can follow them at their handles right there on the screen. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button on your way out, and we